In the late 1990s, something strange started happening to rock music. Heavy metal bands were bringing DJs on stage. Guitar riffs were mixed with hip-hop beats. And thousands of teenagers in baggy clothes were screaming lyrics about anger, isolation, and frustration. This was nu metal. Bands like Korn, Limp Bizkit, and Linkin Park didn't just become popular. For a few years, they completely took over rock music. Nu metal dominated MTV, radio, and stadium tours. So how did nu metal rise so fast? Why did millions of fans connect to it? And why did so many people turn against it? This is the story of the incredible rise and dramatic fall of nu metal.
But right now, I'm standing here with two members of Nirvana, Dave and Chris.
To understand nu metal, you first have to understand the world of rock music in the early 1990s. At the time, rock was dominated by grunge. Bands like Nirvana, Pearl Jam, and Soundgarden were everywhere. Grunge was raw, emotional, and deeply connected to the culture of Generation X. But after the death of Kurt Cobain in 1994, the movement slowly began to fade. At the same time, another genre was rapidly rising: hip-hop. Artists like Dr. Dre, Tupac Shakur, and the Notorious B.I.G. were dominating popular music. Hip-hop had rhythm, it had attitude, and it had cultural influence. Meanwhile, heavy metal bands were experimenting with new sounds. Groups like Faith No More and Rage Against the Machine had already started mixing rap and rock. But one band would push that idea further than anyone else. In 1994, a band from Bakersfield, California released their debut album. That band was Korn. Their self-titled album, Korn, sounded completely different from anything else at the time. Their music had down-tuned 7-string guitars, heavy hip-hop inspired rhythms, haunting melodies, and extremely personal lyrics. Instead of singing about fantasy or rebellion, vocalist Jonathan Davis sang about trauma, pain, and psychological struggles. It was dark, uncomfortable, and incredibly real. The album didn't become an immediate mainstream hit, but it spread through word of mouth, underground shows, and a rapidly growing fan base. Soon, other bands began experimenting with the same sound, and a brand new genre started to form.
Everybody put your arms together.
Nu metal wasn't just metal with rap vocals. It had a completely different musical formula. Most nu metal bands used down-tuned guitars, groove-focused riffs instead of solos, hip-hop rhythms and samples. Bands like Deftones added dreamy atmospheres. Slipknot pushed the sound toward chaotic aggression, and System of a Down mixed political commentary with strange experimental songwriting. But one band would turn nu metal into a global phenomenon.
Definitely a band that you can totally say, like, we kind of broke on the web. And the cool thing about that is when we first went to do a U.S. tour, which we'd never done before, there were kids in all these different cities who already knew who we were because they'd heard our stuff on the internet.
In the year 2000, a relatively unknown band released their debut album. That band was Linkin Park. Their album, Hybrid Theory, became one of the most successful rock albums of all time. It sold over 30 million copies worldwide. The band's formula was unique. Chester Bennington delivered emotional, powerful vocals. Mike Shinoda added rap verses and production elements inspired by hip-hop. Songs like In the End, Crawling, One Step Closer connected deeply with a generation dealing with anxiety, pressure, and identity struggles. Linkin Park didn't just make nu metal popular, they made it mainstream.
I think it's fantastic. I think the more people are cross-pollinated between different musical styles, it not only has musical implications, but it has cultural ones as well.
By the early 2000s, nu metal was everywhere. Bands like Limp Bizkit, Papa Roach, Disturbed, Mudvayne were dominating rock radio. MTV constantly played their music videos. And the genre even influenced fashion. Fans wore Adidas tracksuits, spiked hair, backwards caps. For a brief moment, nu metal became the defining sound of youth culture, but success came with a problem. Too many bands started copying the formula.
Some of the things they pass off as rock today. It's crazy. Man, that sucks.
By the mid-2000s, critics and music fans began turning against nu metal. Many people felt the genre had become repetitive. Record labels were signing dozens of similar bands, hoping to copy the success of Linkin Park or Korn. At the same time, a new style of rock was gaining popularity. Bands like The Strokes, The White Stripes, and Franz Ferdinand brought back a simpler garage rock sound. Some bands changed their style. Others disappeared entirely. And by the late 2000s, the nu metal era was largely over. Even though the genre faded from the spotlight, its influence never really disappeared. Modern artists continue to borrow elements from nu metal. Bands like Bring Me the Horizon and Spirit Box incorporate heavy grooves and emotional vocals inspired by the era. Even hip-hop artists have embraced the sound. Nu metal proved something important. Rock music didn't have to stay inside strict boundaries. It could mix with hip-hop, electronic music, alternative rock. So whether you loved it or hated it, there's no denying one thing. Nu metal left a massive mark on music history. And for millions of fans growing up in that era, it was the soundtrack of their lives. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more deep dives into the history of rock and metal, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next one. Nu metal might have divided fans, but there's no denying it left a huge mark on music history, and its influence is still being felt today. Let me know in the comments, what's your favorite nu metal band or song?